All right, this is Terry with Beer Alien. We're on the phone with Errol with Stoneface Brewing out in New Hampshire. So,
Sure.
give us a brief idea of what the philosophy of your brewery is and what you're trying to accomplish.
Like many of the breweries popping up right now, Stoneface was kind of born out of a couple guys that were already making beer and wanted to distribute, wanted to share. So beer being such a social thing for us and so many, had become a big part of our lives, just socially, and we had a desire to do it professionally. He started homebrewing around probably 14, 15 years ago, and when he and I met at a high-tech company, he was already way into it. He got me into it. We became good friends and started brewing together. Got to the point, though, probably 10 years ago, that he was just so much better than me that I was basically hanging out, fading stuff while he did the real work. And then over the past 10 years, we started making some of the right industry contacts. Dave Yarrington, for example, over at Money Nose, gave us a couple of really key pushes in the right direction to consider doing it as more than a hobby. And then just about 3 years ago, he started winning some awards and taking things more seriously. And then a couple of years ago, he had an opportunity to exit the high-tech industry that he and I were in way back in the day. And we just raised the money and bought stainless steel to start doing this professionally. But yes, I mean, the philosophy is really just that beer is a fun time, it's a social thing to do, and we want to kind of encapsulate that in New Hampshire, make some of that fun throughout the state.
That's awesome. It's always nice when people are more passionate about the beer itself than the business, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's coming from the business guy. So
Right.
my role at Stoneface is typically to stay away from the brew house. I mentioned that Pete really took over learning that craft, and he really has done an incredible job scaling up from homebrew to the 15-barrel system that we have now.
Right.
So I'll package, I'll clean a bit, but we actually have a couple assistant brewers now that we just brought on over the past few months to help them over there manage some of the growth. And I pretty much run the business operation.
Nice. So what do you think is the primary difference between kind of like the East Coast bar scene or brewery scene and the West Coast brewery scene? Or do you even think there is a difference?
I don't think there's as big of a gap as there was even a year ago. So I don't see much of a difference. I think that the craft beer fan is going to seek good beer. We also think more now than ever that there is a craft beer for just about everybody out there.
Right, right.
Our philosophy has to be really inclusive as well. So I mentioned the social aspect and the fun part of the business. Part of that has to just be accepting that people are going to have different palates and try different beers. And for a lot of people, like a really big number of people across the country, there's not much wrong with macro lagers that they've been drinking their whole life. I think that in a lot of cases, they're out for dinner or they're having, meal beers with friends. They'll have an opportunity to try a craft beer, a smaller batch beer that is going to suit their palate.
Right.
So, nothing wrong with people drinking what they've had in the past, and hopefully they're going to try something new in the future. So I don't think that's geographic. I really don't. I think West Coast and East Coast are blending there.
Right, yeah, and we agree. We've noticed that ourselves, as we move around exploring, that everybody pretty much has the same attitude, and I think that's pretty unique. I think to the craft beer industry itself, where breweries are helping each other out and cooperating and sharing supplies and employees, and even though they're technically competitors, the competition part doesn't seem to affect the business practices. And I think that's my favorite part of the craft beer industry as a business.
We knew that going in, and I've still been really surprised by the amount of help that we've got from more experienced breweries and brewers. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The collaboration that occurs, you've seen that in the collaboration beers, but there's an overwhelming sense of patriot versus competitor
Right.
in craft beer.
Yep. So I noticed you guys have speaking of cooperating, you actually have a dinner coming up with Smutty Nose.
Yeah, and a big part of that is because of our existing relationship with people at Smutty Nose. You know, it's a great local New Hampshire brand. They sort of the grandfathers of craft beer in New Hampshire, and I mean that with all respect, not as a time has passed sort of comment. They're making great beer over there. And also, we don't have, you know, on a variety probably to carry us through a 6-course dinner, for example. So
Right.
we're able to team up with money. They're going to bring some really cool vintage stuff over to the Thirsty Moose at Dover, and we're going to have this multiple-course dairy dinner.
That sounds awesome. I always like the dinner pairings. You get to explore the beer from a different perspective.
So we met with the chef over there. He's excited to work with our India Red Rye, and they're going to do something with our Russian Imperial Stout, which came out last month.
Okay, nice. So what are your big plans for next year?
We do have plans to grow a bit. We're not going to grow too quickly because part of the challenge for us right now is just sourcing ingredients. You'll hear this from any hop-forward brewery that hops tend to be the constraint. So our IPA has taken on a bit of a life of its own uphill battle. It's a nice position to be in. However, it does pose some challenges when it comes to managing expectations from the retailers and all consumers. We love that beer ourselves, and we love the attention that it gets. So the plan is to triple capacity on IPA alone. We'll be making, for sure, about 3 times as much next year as we did this year, both across the board and specific to the IPA. But we want to do a couple more specialty beers as well. We did a double IPA earlier this fall called Popularization, which started really as a blur on popularization when we were trying to describe the ways that hops impart bitterness early in the process or impart more flavor and aroma late in the process of making beer. As we were describing popularization, one of our customers at the tasting room, when people could visit us at the brewery, kept hearing popularization and asked us if that was a word, and we were like, now it is. You know, that's definitely the name of a beer now.
There we go.
So that was one experiment in sort of irresponsible experiment in popularization where we threw all the Galaxy hops and Calypso hops that we had on hand into the beer as a double dry hop, and we didn't know how it was going to come out. It came out great. We love it. People liked it, and then we kind of said, well, now what do we do? And then, of all places, another brewery raised their hand and said, yeah, we'll sell you a box of Galaxy hops. You can do that there again.
Right.
They couldn't source it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
The plans are just to sort of stay the course on our core brands, that's the IPA, the Pale Ale for sure. We have India Red Rye that comes out as kind of a recurring guest. And then the specialty stuff. We've done a Porter. We did a Berliner Weiss over the summer. Russian Imperial Stout. And we got barrel aging on Russian Imperial Stout going on right now.
Nice. Any plans to do any sours?
Probably not yet. And some of that is because of the risks associated with introducing sours into the brewery. However, we don't get too anxious about that.
Right.
Cleanliness at our place, especially being so new, is not only really, really important, but it's something that Pete hyper focused on. So it's a small part of that. It's more that I don't think we're going to go mile wide, inch deep at this stage. We'll probably only introduce a couple new brands over the year.
Right.
And stick to what we've done well so far.
All right, that sounds good. And so, just to finish up, what do you think is the current status of like the big boy breweries kind of trying to gobble up some of the more popular craft breweries, and how do you feel that may or may not even affect quality of that beer, the scene itself, that kind of thing?
Yes, good question, because there's definitely some movement there. I do think that the bigger brands, when you look at InBev and Miller Coors, I think that they're very aware of the market share that's being taken away by craft, and they've introduced some brands play in that space. You know, we've all heard about Shock Top and Blue Moon, and
Right.
even the Kent and Blake, you know, real actual craft breweries that are being launched under ownership of the big brand. I think that'll continue. I don't think that it has to negatively impact the smaller craft world, the microbreweries, nano breweries that are popping up. And there's still a ton of space for those breweries when you look at per capita where the United States was pre-prohibition and even some post-prohibition. And then there's this big collapse in the number of breweries per capita. And I think we're going to go back to a world where people can find their beer local and drink it fresh, not just from the big companies that are distributing it across the country.
Right.
Also, we've already seen some acquisitions and mergers in the craft beer space. You know, like Green Flash and Boulevard, and some others that have been either acquired or are acquiring smaller breweries.
Right.
I think that's probably going to continue even more than the big guys trying to play down to craft beers, as they call it. So I don't think that has to impact the state or that we need to worry about the quality of the beer just yet.
Right.
If anything, some breweries are taking on those ownership, you know, deals because they know that there are aspects of the business side that are hard to manage. And just being a good brewer might not lend itself to running the business. So they're able to learn from the better practices of beer breweries or people who have made those mistakes themselves.
Oh, I totally agree. It's interesting. We see a lot of chatter on the internet with forums and things. We've actually seen, like, for example, with Goose Island, tons of people have decided they're no longer going to drink Goose Island beer, even though they like it, because they're now supporting the enemy, so to speak. And
yeah. But at the end of the day, Goose Island in Chicago is still an excellent little craft brewery operating independently out there. I know Hawkers and pretty much some of the core beers may be made out of state now, like some of the Budweiser plants, but that's not to detract from what they do there in Chicago. They make, BTBS, for example, one of the best beers in the world.
Right.
And so it's hard to say that Goose Island is part of the enemy.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting process as the industry continues to grow and evolve and change, and it'll be it's going to be fun. So definitely want to thank you for your time today. And absolutely. All right. Well, have a good day. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot. Good to talk to you.